Our nation's car dependency and car centric infrastructure is costing individuals and families money. Lots and lots of money. The solution to this? You guessed it, better public transit. To drive my point home, pun possibly intended, we need to look at how much it costs to own and maintain a car, as well as how much it costs to take public transit.
There's a point to all the numbers I'm about to say. I promise. Let's first look at the cost of owning a car. For the American Automobile Association, the average cost of owning a car is $12,297 a year, or $33.69 a day. That, for the record, includes upfront costs, maintenance, gas, and auto insurance. Unless you travel a long ways on commuter rail, you're not going to be spending $33.69 a day on public transit. Most people spend much less on public transit daily, including yours truly. Here's another way to look at the numbers.
Speaking for myself, I live in New York City, and the most I tend to spend on public transit in a day is the $2.90 fare to go from Brooklyn to my office in Manhattan, another $2.90 to visit a friend after work, and $2.90 to head home after visiting a friend. That comes out to $8.70 a day. If I spent that much every day on public transit for a 365-day year, and I don't, for the record, I would spend $3,175.50 on public transit in a year. When you consider that the average cost of owning a car is $12,297 a year, what this means is that I save $9,121.50 a year relative to the average car owner. Over the course of a decade, that's over $90,000 in savings. And over the course of a lifetime, that's at least hundreds of thousands of dollars. And that's being conservative because I'm not adjusting for inflation. But even if you're not able to live car free but reduce your dependency on cars, like if you go from a two-car household to a one-car household, you're still going to find yourself saving a lot of money just because of how much it costs to own a car relative to how much it costs to take public transit. So you think at this point, I give the financial advice saying that if you can live car light or car free, do it. And I subscribe to that advice for myself. But that advice is only useful if you live in a place where public transit not only exists, but is semi dependable.
Unfortunately, that is not sound advice for the 45% of Americans who have no access to public transit. We're not talking about access to buses that run at least once every half hour. We're talking about public transit access. Period. The go car light or car free advice is also not sound advice for the many other Americans who do theoretically have access to public transit, but have poor access. For example, if you're a service industry worker who needs to report to work on a weekend, but your city's bus system is bare bones or non existent outside of weekday rush hours, then you're going to drive because you have no other choice. And this is not a hypothetical. This happens plenty in real life. For example, the likes of Birmingham, Alabama, Boise, Idaho, and Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, three of America's 100 largest metropolitan areas, offer no bus service on Sundays. And then there are plenty of American cities where being car light or car free is doable in theory, but it's just really inconvenient to the point that many of us view driving as worth the extra cost. That's how I would summarize my experiences with public transit when I visited Rochester, New York over the summer. Was going car free doable? Absolutely. Was it convenient? Absolutely not. Some of the commutes I did as a tourist involved bus transfers so clunky that it was almost as fast for me to walk in near 90-degree heat as it was for me to take the bus everywhere.
My point is this: while going car free saves you a lot of money in the long run, doing that is either not possible or not practical for most Americans. And who has the power to change that? Politicians. Because it's the politicians who typically provide funding to public transit entities.
This is what it boils down to. If politicians are serious about making the lives of working and middle class individuals better, they should passionately advocate for better public transit. Providing our cities and suburbs with public transit good enough for people to conceivably live car light or car free is a move that will save people potentially hundreds of thousands of dollars over a lifetime. That's a big freaking deal. That money can be the difference between a family's kids graduating college and a family not being able to afford to send their kids to college. That money can be the difference between a comfortable retirement and a less than comfortable one. That money can be the difference between being able to pay for a medical crisis and having to beg for money on GoFundMe. And that money can be the difference between struggling to put food on the table and being able to live comfortably.
Politicians, if you want to be a champion for the middle and working classes, be a champion for public transit. And if you don't want to be a champion for public transit, then I have to admit that I'm left wondering how much you actually care about the middle and working classes. After all, saving people money is yet one more reason that public transit should be funded generously by people in government. I should also note that some of the onus is on those of us who are eligible to vote.
Those of us who are eligible to vote have the power to vote, and in some cases, have the power to vote in politicians who actually care about public transit as an economic justice issue. We should exercise that power, because if we don't, well, then we become part of the problem ourselves.
And yes, I'm speaking to myself here as well. Because even for someone politically engaged like me, there are elections where it can be a struggle to motivate myself to come to the polls. I still do it, but sometimes it's a struggle, especially if there's a ballot where I'm not enthusiastic about anybody running for office. If you have any thoughts on this video, please leave a comment in the comment section below.
Make sure to also like this video and subscribe to my channel for more content on imagining better mass transit in the United States. Thank you and have a good day.